He told me everything that would happen tomorrow, and then he told me how I'd die the day after. I used to take the 6:15 a.m. bus every morning. Same seat, same route, same half-awake passengers. I liked the routine. It gave me a strange sense of control, something constant in a life that wasn't. That was before I met the man in the green coat. It was a Thursday. Gray sky, slight drizzle. I remember because my jacket wasn't waterproof and I was annoyed at myself for forgetting my umbrella. I boarded the usual bus and slid into my usual window seat. The bus was mostly empty except for the driver and an elderly woman reading some oversized book in the front. Then he stepped on, mid-40s, maybe 50, graying stubble, tired eyes. He wore a thick green coat like one of those wool military trench styles, even though it wasn't cold. Something about him felt off. Not in a threatening way, more like his presence bent the space around him. Too aware, too calm, like he knew the end of a movie I hadn't started. He sat directly beside me, not across, not 2 rows away, right next to me, on a nearly empty bus. Before I could even react, he turned to me and said, "You'll forget your wallet on your desk today. But it won't matter. You'll find $20 in your coat pocket and use it for lunch." I blinked at him, confused. I didn't respond. Figured maybe he was talking to someone else. But his eyes were locked on mine. Calm. Knowing. "You'll trip over the loose tile in front of the second-floor printer. You won't fall, but you'll look around to see if anyone saw." They didn't. I was fully staring at him now. Then, as the bus rolled on through wet, sleepy streets, he told me everything else that would happen to me that day. My boss would wear a maroon tie and spill coffee on it. I'd get an email from a girl I dated 3 years ago. Someone would be in the break room, crying quietly while scrolling through their phone, but I wouldn't stop to ask if they were okay. By the time the bus stopped at my usual stop, I was half convinced he was a lunatic. But curiosity has claws, and they dug deep. I said nothing to him, just stood up and left. He stayed seated, smiling faintly. "See you tomorrow," he said without looking at me. And then, one by one, everything he said happened. Every detail. The wallet, the $20, the stumble, the maroon tie, the crying coworker, even the email from Rachel, who I hadn't heard from since 2022. Every single thing. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the bus ride in my mind. His voice, calm and deliberate, like a narrator reading a story he'd read 100 times. My story. The next morning, I took the same bus at the same time. He was already there, sitting in the same seat, the one beside mine. I didn't hesitate this time. I sat down next to him and said, "How?" He turned, gave that same faint smile and said, "Today won't feel real to you. Everything will feel slightly off. You'll think people are staring, but they're not. Or maybe they are, but only because they're starting to remember." Remember what? He didn't answer. Instead, he listed events again, even more specific this time. A phone call from my mother about a dream she had. A squirrel falling from a tree as I walked past. A child pointing at me in the grocery store and crying. And all day, it happened. Every single thing. That night, I didn't sleep again. By the 3rd day, I had stopped questioning whether it was real. He didn't speak when I boarded. He waited until we were rolling before turning to me. "There's something I need to tell you about Sunday," he said. It was Friday. I asked, "What about Saturday?" He smiled. "Saturday already happened." I asked what he meant, but he ignored the question. "There's a gas leak you can't smell. You'll go to sleep Saturday night, and if you stay home, you won't wake up." I stared at him. "You're saying I'll die?" "I'm saying Sunday won't come for you, unless you leave." He gave me a name and address, some motel across town, told me to go there Saturday evening. "Check in, don't leave, trust me." I was shaking, not out of fear exactly, but disbelief. Hope, maybe, that this was just an elaborate prank, or I was losing my mind. I Googled the motel. It existed. Saturday came. I stood in my kitchen for hours trying to smell gas. There was nothing. but I couldn't bring myself to stay. As the sun set, I packed a bag and took a rideshare to the motel, checked in, slept, woke up to news of a fire, my apartment building, faulty stove, one dead, several injured. The victim hadn't been identified yet. Sunday night, I rode the bus again. He wasn't there. I waited on that bus every day for the rest of that week. Same seat, same time, same route. But he never came back. And somehow, that was worse. Because now I wasn't wondering if it was real. I knew it was. Every day I'd look around at the other passengers, searching for someone in a green wool coat, someone whose presence felt like gravity, someone who had already seen my life play out like a rerun. But all I found were tired commuters and blank stares, and the silence was unbearable. Until the following Thursday. That was when I saw him again, but not on the bus. I was walking home from work, still thinking about him, when I noticed someone across the street staring at me, not moving, not walking, just watching. It was him. Same coat, same tired eyes. He didn't smile this time. He just nodded once and turned the corner. I ran across traffic without thinking, barely missing a speeding car. When I turned the same corner, he was gone. In his place, taped to a lamppost, was a folded piece of paper. My name was written on it in perfect block letters. I opened it. Inside, it said only two things. You are not the first. Stay off the bus tomorrow. That was it. No signature, no date, no explanation. I didn't sleep that night either. My mind kept spiraling. What did he mean by, not the first? And why avoid the bus tomorrow? Was he protecting me? Or was this all part of something much bigger? I debated taking the bus the next day anyway, just to see, just to prove I wasn't under someone else's control. But when I got to the stop Friday morning, there were police, yellow tape, a crowd. The 6:15 bus had crashed. According to the local news, the driver suffered a sudden seizure. The bus veered off into a concrete divider. 6 injured, 2 dead. I recognized one of the victims in the article, the elderly woman who always sat at the front. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the photos of the wreckage. I saw my seat, twisted metal where I would have been sitting. I sat on the curb and vomited into a storm drain. After that, I stopped taking the bus altogether. I changed my routine, worked from home, avoided crowds, started triple-checking my stove, the locks, the windows. Paranoia had me by the throat, and I let it. Because it wasn't paranoia if it was true, but the feeling of being watched never left. Sometimes, at night, I'd hear footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Slow, deliberate, then silence. Then a whisper I couldn't quite hear. One night, I opened my door fast, expecting to catch someone there. Nothing, just an envelope on the floor. Inside was a photograph, black and white. A man on a bus, my bus, sitting in my seat, except it wasn't me. The angle was taken from where the green-coated man would have been sitting. On the back of the photo, one sentence. His name was Alan. He didn't listen either. Who the hell was Alan? And who was sending me these? I started researching, looking for keywords, names, anything tied to unexplained bus crashes or gas leaks or men in green coats. I found nothing. Not on the regular internet, not on the dark web, no forums, no old newspaper clippings. No one else had shared anything even remotely similar. Until I found the blog, buried deep in an archived website from the early 2000s. A single post titled, "The Man Who Knew Tomorrow. Please read before it's too late." I felt cold all over. The post described a nearly identical experience. A man met someone on public transportation who began predicting his days with horrifying accuracy. The blog stopped suddenly. No updates after the third entry. The final words were chilling. He told me I'd disappear before sunrise. He said no one would remember me, but I'd remember all of them. That blog was dated March 2003. And the author's name? Alan Monroe, the name from the photo. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours, my ears ringing. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. No message, just a photo. It was me, sitting on a bus, eyes closed as if asleep, And next to me, him, the man in the green coat. He was smiling directly at the camera, except I hadn't been on any bus since the crash, and I had no idea where or when that photo had been taken. Or if it had yet. I closed all my windows, locked every door, drew the blinds, sat in silence. I didn't sleep again that night, but just as I started to drift into something like unconsciousness, I heard a sound from the living room, the unmistakable click of a door unlocking from the inside. The bus pulled up Monday morning, on time like always, but the seat next to mine was empty. For the first time in days, I felt relief, a strange, guilty kind, like surviving a plane crash and wondering why you walked away when others didn't. I kept expecting him to show up the next day, or the next, but he didn't. 5 days passed, a week, then 2. Nothing. Life slowly returned to normal, or the illusion of it. I stopped waiting for predictions. I tried to forget the motel, the fire, the voice that told me I wouldn't survive. I even convinced myself that maybe I'd hallucinated it all. Until one night, 3 weeks later, I got a letter. No stamp, no return address. Just slid under my apartment door sometime while I was out. It was handwritten on plain paper. "You're out of sync now. They'll notice soon." That was it. I didn't sleep again that night, or the one after. The days started feeling surreal, slightly off. People stared a little too long. My reflection seemed to beat behind. Lights flickered more often than I remembered. Then I saw him again. Not on the bus, on the sidewalk. He stood across the street from my office building. Same green coat, same tired eyes. He didn't wave, didn't move, just stared. I blinked, and he was gone. That night, I dreamed of him standing at the foot of my bed, whispering things I couldn't understand. My ears rang for hours after I woke up. Then, the pattern started. People I didn't know would brush past me and mutter, "Not supposed to be here." Children would point and cry. Electronics in my home turned on by themselves. I caught glimpses of myself in reflections, doing things I wasn't doing. I emailed a psychiatrist, scheduled a consultation. I never made it, because Friday night I came home and found another letter. "You're unraveling. It's already begun." My walls started bleeding shadows. Not literally, just the way light moved didn't make sense anymore. I'd look away and catch motion where there should be none. My phone glitched constantly. My voice sounded wrong in recordings. And then came Sunday, exactly a month after the fire. I woke up to find every mirror in my apartment cracked. Even the ones in drawers are tucked away. My clock blinked the hours no matter how many times I reset it, and there he was again, on the bus, same seat, same coat. But this time, he looked worse, gaunt, sunken eyes, paler. I sat beside him. "What's happening to me?" I asked. He looked out the window and whispered, "Time is a river, and you skipped a stone across it. Every skip leaves a ripple." I grabbed his arm. "Tell me how to fix this." He turned to me slowly. "You weren't supposed to survive. That fire was your ending. This," he gestured around the bus at the people who didn't seem to notice us, "is aftermath." I stared at him. "Then why save me?" He smiled faintly. "I didn't. I warned you. You chose." I felt my stomach twist. "So what now?" He leaned in. "Now, you catch up." The lights on the bus flickered. The windows darkened. The air grew heavy, thick like molasses. I looked around. No one was moving. Frozen mid-breath, mid-blink. Even the driver. I turned back to the man. He was gone. In his place was me. But not me. Not exactly. He looked like me, but older. More tired. Eyes hollowed out. Skin pale. Veins visible. He looked at me with something like pity. And then he spoke in my voice. "You were never meant to wake up after the fire. This has all been borrowed time." The bus began to dissolve around me, melting into shadow, bleeding into light. I felt myself stretch, split, unravel. And then I understood. I didn't survive the fire. I was never on the bus again. I was stuck in the last story ever told about me. A prediction that refused to let go. The final whisper on a loop. The stranger who knew tomorrow wasn't warning me. He was replacing me. And now, I ride the bus every morning. Same seat, same route. Waiting for someone who still thinks they'll make it to Sunday. But this time, I don't speak. I just watch. And when they step off too early, or not at all, I mark the change. Because now, I know how the story ends. And someone has to keep it going, even if that someone used to be me.